This is the story of Sifu in 5 minutes. Sifu takes place in a fictional Chinese city, and you play as the son or daughter of a Sifu, which translates to master in Cantonese. The game begins with you playing as the main villain, Yang, where you and 4 others attack a martial arts school. You confront the Sifu and demand that he hands over the possessions in his box, but the Sifu resists and attempts to defend himself against Yang. After 2 phases of combat, Yang kills the Sifu and takes the item from the box. Yang then hears the son of the Sifu hiding, and he orders one of his men to kill the kid. However, you're revived by a magical talisman, which every time is used, ages you. You are then introduced to the 5 bosses in the game. You're now 20 years old and start working your way through the more indigent area of the Chinese city known as the Squats. You're in search of Fajar, the one who cut your throat back at the Wuguan. You battle your way through the Squats and come across Fajar, who is tending to his plants. There are no words exchanged until after you defeat him in the second phase of the fight.
I have spent 8 long years preparing for this.
During your trek through the Squats, you find a flyer to the club where Sean, your next target, is located. You arrive at the club and force your way in, fighting through the level until you find Sean in his dojo seated upon a throne.
Leave. I recognize that uniform. It represents a school for the weak and feeble.
After the first phase of the fight is complete, Sean stomps his cigarette out on the ground, causing the entire facility to burn down. You then kill him using his own staff. Moving up into the hills is the museum, home of the next boss, Kuroki. You move through the beautiful, modern museum and take an interesting portal to a dark and isolated place. Eventually you make it to a snowy sanctuary, where there kneels Kuroki handling a Kakeshi doll of herself. She tells you that she doesn't want to fight and understands the pain that you're suffering.
That feeling of vengeance, it will not cease here. I speak from experience.
In the first phase of the fight, she wields 2 blades acting as one long nunchuck. In the second phase of the fight, the environment turns into a black water arena, and Kuroki now wields 2 kunais. After defeating her, you stab her in the chest with her own kunai, and she lays dead in the snow. You finally make it to the tower, where you're greeted by the secretary who tells you that Jin Feng is waiting for you. As you make your way through the level, you find yourself crashing down an elevator shaft. You come across a room where a conspiracy is revealed. 5 kung fu schools destroyed 8 years ago, and the 4 masters killed. They were called the Guardians, a plan made by Yang and the others. You jump down into an abyss, and are met with Jin Feng, who wields a ball and chain type weapon.
The bell tolls for you. The Guardian's legacy.
After the second phase of the fight, you choke Jin Feng with her own chains. At last, you've reached the highest point in the Chinese city, the Sanctuary. The Sanctuary is run by Yang and is considered a place for broken bodies and spirits who will apparently leave the Sanctuary free from what they came with. After battling through the stunning Sanctuary, you make it to Yang's office. He prefaces the fight with a speech revealing that he trained you and that you are siblings. He also reveals that your father had abandoned him during dark times. You and Yang then face off in 2 phases. After you kill Yang, a cutscene plays with you as a child overhearing Yang and your father arguing. confirming that your father exiled Yang.
It's the only way to save them, Sifu!
You failed to honor your oath. You are unworthy.
However, this isn't the true ending. At the end of the game, you're lectured on Wuda. The way to achieve Wuda in-game is by sparing your enemies. Each boss fight has the option to spare their life. When you go to fight Yang and spare him, you enter a third phase. Once the fight is complete, you spare Yang and collapse to the ground. You've now achieved Wuda. You wake up and climb to the top of a mountain where you see a dragon in the distance and give a sigh of relief, concluding the story of Sifu.